Welcome to Teaching Persuasive Writing. This is a workshop written by Jennifer Gati and Holly Sloat. In today's workshop, we will discuss with you strategies and techniques that you can use with your students in grades kindergarten through 12th grade to assist them in becoming more effective persuasive writers. So you might be wondering, why am I here and what exactly am I going to learn about today? Well, in today's workshop, we are going to discuss and answer the following questions. What is persuasive writing? Why do we need to teach persuasive writing? What are different types of persuasive writing? What strategies can I use to teach persuasive writing? How can I use technology to teach and assist my students become better persuasive writers? How do I motivate a reluctant writer? And how can I assess persuasive writing in my classroom?
So you may be wondering, what exactly is persuasive writing? According to the Wikipedia, persuasive writing is a piece of work in which the writer uses words to convince the reader that the writer's opinion is correct with regard to an issue. It requires writers to choose a side of an issue, write with purpose for a selected audience, decide upon and then elaborate on the most important parts of their message, attempt to change a reader's mind, and support with facts or details. According to an article that we read, persuasive essays generally include an introduction that hooks the reader. It also includes 3 body paragraphs containing a reason to support the position and evidence for each claim. It ends with a conclusion that restates the argument.
So you might be wondering, why exactly do I need to teach persuasive writing? Well, that's because, number one, it's seen frequently on many high-stake tests in many states across the country. Number two, as per the English language arts Common Core standards, especially number 3, students will read, write, listen, and speak for critical analysis and evaluation. As listeners and readers, students will analyze experiences, ideas, information, and issues presented by others using a variety of established criteria. As speakers and writers, they will present in oral and written language and from a variety of perspectives their opinions and judgments on experiences, ideas, information, and issues. It's also a higher level skill for students to acquire in order to succeed in college. And it's also a staple for participation in democratic societies.
There are many different types of persuasive writing that students may choose to use. One of them is persuasive letters, another is campaigns, another is commercials, posters, articles, books, and stories. All of these different types of persuasive writings are things that teachers need to really expose their students to in the classroom setting. There are many different strategies that teachers can use to help students write persuasive writing in the classroom. Strategies you can use to teach persuasive writing are STOP, DARE, AIMS, POW, the SRSD strategy, the RAF strategy, and the IMSCI strategy. We're going to really go into how to teach each one of these strategies in the next several slides that you are about to see.
So the first strategy that we're going to talk about is DARE. So you might be wondering, what exactly is DARE and why would I want to use it? Well, DARE is a writing strategy that is used to assist writers with organizing their thoughts. It stands for the following. D, develop their writing topic sentence. A, add supporting details. R, reject possible details for the other side. E, end with a conclusion. According to the research that we have read, DARE was a successful mnemonic writing strategy that was used not only with general education students, but with struggling writers. In order to begin using the DARE writing strategy with students, teachers need to first make sure that students understand exactly what persuasion means. So first they would have a discussion. They'd possibly ask one of the following questions. What does the word persuade means? Following the discussion, the teacher would then introduce this DARE writing strategy. They would explain to students that DARE is a trick to help them remember the parts of a persuasive essay. Once students fully understood what the DARE writing strategy was, the teacher would model it for them. once they completed a modeling strategy, the teacher would support the students in beginning to write on their own.
It's such an important skill for students to have, to plan their writing before they write, because research has shown that poor writers tend to not plan their writing. So the next strategy that we're going to talk about is the STOP strategy. And this mnemonic strategy is going to prompt students to think and plan what they want to say before writing. The steps are the following. S is for suspend judgment by listing reasons for each side of a position before deciding on a premise. T stands for take a position after evaluating the listed ideas. O stands for organize ideas from strongest to weakest, or most important to least important. And P stands for plan and write more while writing the essay. Another important strategy to teach persuasive writing is the POW strategy. This is also a strategy that really teaches students how to organize their writing, because again, organizing makes for a strong piece of writing. So POW is another mnemonic writing strategy, and it stands for P, pick my idea. For persuasive writing, that means that the student is going to pick a topic, and along with picking that topic, they're going to pick the side that they choose to argue for. O stands for organize. For this step, students would be provided with graphic organizers that the teachers would provide them with that would be appropriate for the type of writing that they're doing, which would be persuasive. W would be students would begin to write. Since this would be the first attempt at writing the essay, students would write and revise. And the A, and also the mnemonic strategies really help students to remember each part of the organization process so that they can recall that information when they go to use it themselves, because we really want these to be tools that the students can use to help them when they're writing independently eventually.
So as we continue along, and we have discussed several mnemonic strategies with you, I'm now going to discuss with you what exactly is aims. And you're probably wondering, why do you have that little magnet sitting over there? Well, we actually placed that magnet on this slide to help you remember that aims and the magnet kind of go together because it's supposed to attract and appeal to the reader. Therefore, that's why we have our little friend the magnet there. So anyway, as we stated earlier, these mnemonic devices are beneficial to general education students as well as special education students. AIMS actually is meant to be between stop and dare. Its purpose is to help the writer create an introduction to appeal to the reader, and it stands for A, attract the reader's attention. I, identify the problem of the topic so that the reader understands the issues. M, map the context of the problem or provide background information needed to understand the problem. And S, state the thesis so the premises is clear.
So the next one we're going to talk about is the SRSD, and we have our little planning picture on your upper right hand corner to remind you of that. This strategy actually can be used not just to help students to teach them persuasive writing, but any type of writing. So this strategy has 6 parts actually to help writers plan, and they are the following. The first one is to develop background knowledge, to kind of, some writers, they might not have as much background knowledge on a topic, so the teacher really wants to make sure that they know exactly where this particular writer is coming from. So that's an important step. The next step, number 2, would be to discuss it. The teacher would spend time discussing different topics with students and information with them. The third one would be to model it. The teacher would spend time with the students actually modeling what they want the students to do, which is very important. The fourth one is to memorize it. The fifth one would be to support it, and the sixth one would be independent performance, which is when the students are actually writing independently.
So what exactly is raft? Well, this mnemonic strategy would be used to assist students in creating their own voice while creating a persuasive piece. Before I exactly get into what it stands for, I just wanted to kind of go back into our research. This mnemonic device was actually used with a high school classroom. The teacher within this article, Persuasion Equals Stating and Arguing Claims Well, written by Lapp and Fisher, felt that she wasn't reaching her students accurately, or that she wasn't assisting them in helping them to become better writers, especially in the area of persuasion. Being that we have recently implemented the Common Core ELA standards, she felt that these standards raised the bar. So she really had to self-reflect and say, how exactly am I going to make sure that these students can pass the high school exit exams and make sure that they can get into college? Well, this is kind of where she came up with deciding to use this mnemonic strategy. But before she could actually implement this strategy in her classroom, she wanted to make sure that they actually understood what persuasion was. So the first thing that she did was build background knowledge with them. She had discussions with her class. She had them partner up. And during their discussions, as the students talked with one another, she often interjected and wanted to know exactly where the evidence was within their persuasive conversations. From there, she moved on to modeling exactly what persuasion was. Once the students kind of had a general understanding of what it meant to persuade someone or how to write a persuasive letter or writing piece, she actually showed them, she modeled it. She showed them YouTube videos. She shared mentor texts with them related to persuasive writing. She shared articles. She shared wanted ads. She really wanted these students to have a really good grasp of what it meant to persuade or convince a reader. So after she built up this really good background knowledge with these students, that is when she taught them this mnemonic writing strategy. So RAFT stands for the role and authority of the writer, the intended audience and what they were being persuaded to do, the form of writing and its appeal to the audience, and finally the topic and persuasive techniques that were being used to seal the deal or ensure that persuasion has occurred. So actually, after she taught them this mnemonic device, she actually showed them Barack Obama's presidential acceptance speech. And after the students viewed the acceptance speech, she had them break up into groups again. And she listened to her students identify and discuss the use of persuasive devices within this speech. Again, once she knew that the students completely understood what persuasion was, and what this mnemonic device RAF stood for, she had them begin writing independently. But not only did she set up her students to write independently, she also provided them with evaluation checklists and writing rubrics to assist them with this writing strategy.
So the next strategy that we're going to talk about is the IMSCI strategy. And this strategy is actually a very important one because it really has the teacher showing students how to think about writing. It was designed after research that, and I quote, effective instruction involves teachers modeling for students how to write in specific genres or forms by writing in front of the students and writing with students through shared writing. The first step is inquiry about a topic. So the teacher would have the students inquire about a topic that they either come up with or that the teacher has come up with. The teacher will model using a concept map for pre-writing. A shared activity. This is the part that's really important because it invites students' input into how the teacher's thinking about writing, and the teacher actually thinks aloud and the teacher will ask him or herself questions such as, what should come next in my writing? How can I put that into a sentence? Just asking themselves different questions and inviting the students to actually take part in that. And that's how students actually learn how to think about writing and how to start thinking about writing for themselves. So that's an extremely important step. Collaborating, students are asked to produce a similar text with a partner. So after they watch the teacher model and see how the teacher thinks about writing and kind of mimic that, then after that they're asked to write a text with other students in the classroom. So it gives them a chance to practice all the things that they've learned, and then finally that they're able to do it independently. And it really does make sense, when children are learning to speak, they really look at other people and learn language in that way. So it makes sense that you would learn writing in that way, because in the past teachers really haven't given students the ability to hear the thoughts inside their head when they're writing. So that's an extremely important step. And teachers may scaffold students through new genres by asking questions. And some of the questions, like I said, that they'll ask themselves are: what characterizes this kind of genre? What features do you see in common, etc.? So that's a really important one for that you might want to teach in your classroom for persuasive writing.
So since we've been talking about mnemonic strategies that you can use with your general education students or your special education students in grades K through 12, we're now going to start talking about teaching persuasion with purpose. And there's 5 principles for instruction. And we're going to actually review what these 5 principles are during our next several slides. But before we get into that discussion, I'm just going to quickly have an overview with you about what these 5 principles are. So the first one is, these 5 principles listed below can assist students in reading and writing. The first one states that you're going to design compelling, communicatively meaningful environments. You're going to provide exposure and experiences. You're going to explicitly teach genre features. You're going to explicitly teach genre-specific or genre-sensitive strategies. And you're going to offer ongoing coaching feedback. So for the 5 principles for instruction, here are some things to consider. So for the first principle, students should think of a problem and think of a solution collaboratively. Like, for example, raising funds within the community, create a project to affect change, etc. Again, these things would be through their community. So as the teacher, you would want to grab their attention, grab their interest. You'd really want to make them excited to want to make a change within their community, within their school, or even within the world. Once your students have come up with a general plan or problem as a group, you want them to then come up with a solution. In order to do that, you want to expose them to a wide variety of genres and websites to assist them with researching how they can make a change. That would bring us into our second principle, where students would learn about others who have made a change within their communities through modeled or mentor texts. They would explore these people and changes through the internet and texts, and they would serve them as models. So basically in that second stage, you really again want to get your students excited. You want to get them talking about writing. You're going to give them model examples through mentor text. You're going to provide them with educational websites related to the topic that they're researching. You're going to talk about how adults and other community leaders have made changes within their community. And once you've done all of those things, that's when you're going to move on into the third stage, which the third principle includes characteristics about persuasive texts. And these are presented on the next slide.
So I'm going to continue talking about the third principle and some of the things that go with that. So the common characteristics of persuasive texts are the following. The first one is claim. And a claim is any argument that somebody's going to make, or a statement by data and or evidence. The next one is evidence. And evidence is something that supports the claim. So it could be reasons, it could be expert testimonials, facts, statistics, that type of thing. The next one would be warrants. And that's how the evidence is linked to the claim. So, and the next one is appeals. And that is the tools that are used to get the audience on your side. And it teaches students to sway a group to believe in their viewpoint. So that one's very important.
So again, continuing on with the third principle, we're going to talk about the next components. So structural characteristics include compelling openings. That would mean that in this area you can include graphics or music. The next area would be explication of context. So maybe you would say, you preschoolers will be kindergartners next year. Are you nervous? Counter arguments or rebuttals would include things such as acknowledgments of possible protests or doubts regarding the claims that might be expressed. Refutations or countered rebuttals are reasons or explanations why the protest or doubt is inaccurate, insufficient, or inapplicable. Our next area would be qualifications or constraints, and finally conclusions, where the author would just have a final summary about what their whole argument was about. Language characteristics include direct address, questions for the reader or listener, attempts to establish solidarity with an audience, transitions that signal opposition, and logical links. And finally, graphical features include pictures or realistic photographs and devices such as diagrams, charts, maps, tables, etc.
So now we're going to continue on with principle number 4, what genre with a purpose will look like. So students will address a real need in the community. They will think and learn about the audience that they want to convince. Teachers will offer ongoing coaching and feedback. Students will craft an argument, and students will be taught to strengthen an argument with information. Students consider opposing points of view and craft and deliver their message. And teachers continue to offer coaching and feedback throughout the entire process.
And finally, the fifth principle would be the following. Coaching and giving feedback can be accomplished by teacher would give feedback to the whole group, which include the entire class, small groups of students. The teacher could pair students together to review one another's articles, writing pieces, essays, or the teacher might encourage students to self-reflect on their writing pieces by using revision checklists. And these checklists are actually included in your handout packets.
So in case you're not sure what this is a picture of the revision checklist for principle number 5.
So, whoa, that was like a whole lot of strategies that we just explained to you. And you guys might be feeling slightly overwhelmed, as are we at this moment. That was definitely a lot of strategies to go over and discuss. So at this point, we're going to ask that you please pause the video for 3 minutes to discuss the following questions with your partners. The first thing that we'd like you to discuss is, which strategy did you like best, and explain with your group why you liked it best. Next, we'd like you to discuss with your group how you would use this specific strategy with your class.
Well, we hope that you're feeling a little bit more comfortable with all the strategies that were presented now, because they were a lot. There were a lot of them. So the activity number 2 is an activity that we thought might be a little bit fun, since you sat for a long time and listened to all of our strategies. For this activity, we're going to be using the book, The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, and we will get into that in the next slide. So now we're going to make you jump through a few hoops, and we're going to ask that you do the following. So here's what you're going to need to do. For this activity, you will be breaking up into small groups of 2 or 3 colleagues. You're going to have 10 minutes to complete this task, and each group will be given a copy of The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, written by John, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce this, so Saiska, to read. Once your group has finished reading the book, take about 2 minutes to discuss the story from the wolf's perspective. Because we don't usually think about fairy tales from, the villain's perspective, so it should be interesting, and kids really like that too. Your group will use the argument organizer graphic organizer to try to persuade the reader that the wolf in the story was just misunderstood. And remember, our time is limited, so you will want to come up with at least 3 convincing details. Feel free to reference the story. And some persuasive text features that you may want to include are I think, I feel, I believe, etc.
So just in case you were wondering which graphic organizer you should refer to, it's actually this one. It's the argument organizer.
So, as you can see in our picture on the top right corner, there are a lot of children who are reluctant writers. So we want to change that. And so the topic of this slide is how do I motivate a reluctant writer? Not always the easiest thing to do. We read an article, and according to the article of Effectiveness of Teaching, 10th grade students stop, aims, and dare for planning and drafting persuasive text. Students were motivated to write by earning tangible items such as candy, chips, art supplies, and computer time. At the end of the study, students were able to earn either 2 movie passes or an iTunes card. Pretty generous. So we kind of want you to talk about or think about which do you think would be the best motivator for elementary students and which do you think would be the best motivator for high school students? And take a minute to discuss with the people around you. Also, if you have an idea of what you think could also motivate students, or if you liked it or didn't like it.
So as we talk about ways to motivate reluctant writers, we came across this contest, which could be used to motivate students in grades 4 through 10th grade with persuasive writing pieces. Actually, this is a contest sponsored by the Center for the Books and Library of Congress, and this contest is open to students in grades 4th through 10th. Students actually have the opportunity to write a personal letter to an author of their choice, dead or living, whose literature has affected their lives. These letters can be a combination of narrative genres or persuasive letters. The website is actually included below this little writing blurb. I just thought this was kind of cool, and actually this motivating activity was part of an article that said teaching to the test. So many of us are so focused on preparing our students to take the Common Core math and ELA examinations that we tend to move away from some of the fun activities. And actually the author of this article felt like we should be encouraging our students to not only prepare for tests, but motivating them through activities such as this. So I just thought this was pretty cool.
So this slide is about a video that we'd like you to see. It's how to write a persuasive letter. It's to inform a specific audience about an idea by writing a persuasive letter. And this short video clip teaches students how to convince others by writing a persuasive letter. Students will learn about the 3 main parts of a letter: greeting, body, and conclusion, and how to convince a specific audience about their opinion and discuss why their opinion is a great idea. And it'd be suitable for students in grades 3 to 8. While watching this video, think about whether or not you think the teacher was effective in teaching this skill. Do you think students would grasp this concept effectively? So you're going to watch the video and then take about 7 minutes to discuss.
So after watching that really short video on how to write a persuasive letter, we thought that it would be really interesting to watch another video related to persuasive writing. So this video is called Inside Writing Communities, and it would be beneficial to 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers. Actually, when you watch this workshop video number 7, and the link is actually listed below, you will actually be able to observe how 2 teachers use different writing strategies to teach persuasive writing within their own classrooms. Basically, from the information that you'll learn from these videos, you're going to learn how to inform students about why it's important to revise and edit a piece of persuasive writing. You're going to learn how to encourage and teach students to reflect on their persuasive writing pieces and to teach students strategies to improve their persuasive writing. I happen to really like this video, and I hope you do too.
So we are finally getting to the end of our presentation, and we're going to be handing out tonight's assignment, and we're going to explain what you'll need to do. So teachers will be given the following informative article to read, which is using online media to write extended persuasive texts, written by Lisa Morton Standish. This informative article discusses how to incorporate persuasive writing strategies into classrooms ranging from kindergarten to 12th grade using 21st century skills. And the forms of technology that would be assessed in this article would motivate students to write and encourage them to become more creative. A homework assignment related to this article will be assigned and will be due to at the next conference related to persuasive writing in the classroom.
So again, the article that we just handed out was related to using technology within the classroom. I know that the big push, especially right now, is how teachers incorporate 21st century skills into their writing practices, or actually across all areas within the curriculum. So as an assignment, this is what we want you to do. We want you can either choose to do this alone, or you can choose to partner up and work with somebody. So after you finish reading the article, we would want you to, there's a couple of different scenarios that you can choose from. So you're going to choose a character from a favorite text or film, and then you're going to create a storyboard based on this character. Then you're going to choose one of the following options listed below to complete the assignment. So if you choose to work with somebody, number one would probably be the best way to go for actually. So number one, the first scenario would be that your partner will create a critical incident into your storyboard, and you will be required to solve this issue by writing a persuasive letter from the point of view of your chosen character. Number two, I thought this one was kind of cool, would be to create a fake book page from your character, and your partner will post an issue in which your character must try to resolve. Your peers would then be invited to comment on this issue as well. If you chose not to have a partner, and if this was actually done in a classroom, then your teacher would actually, if you were a student, your teacher would actually insert that little critical issue in which you would have to try to resolve, and your classmates would be able to comment on that. Option number three would be to create a social action blog. And again, we'd really want you to refer to the provided article should you require further assistance with this assignment, because there was a lot of really interesting strategies incorporated in this article. So as we're concluding our workshop presentation, we hope that you really enjoyed some of the strategies that we talked about, some of the techniques that you could use within your classroom, how to motivate students in your classroom, and should you have any other questions, concerns, or want to do some research yourself, you can actually click on some of these websites listed below, and you can find some other information out about how to use persuasive writing in your classroom. We've also included some additional handouts, which we'll give out at the end of this presentation, and a variety of these persuasive writing prompts will be included within your packets that can be used from elementary grades to high school. So included basically in these handouts would be persuasive writing prompts, rubrics that you could use with older students. We included some graphic organizers that could be used with elementary students. So just a variety of different types of graphic organizers, prompts, and materials to assist you with your own classroom.
Well, everyone, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. We have concluded our presentation. And as we conclude our presentation, please feel free to ask additional questions related to persuasive writing. So take it from the old lady and
ask away.
Ask away.